Hello, and thanks for coming along to And We Have an Office Dog, the digital agency podcast where we talk to agency owner-directors and learn more about what makes them tick. From the things that make them similar to the things they'd rather have known sooner, where they've had success and where they've learned some hard lessons. All will be revealed with your host, Chris Simmons, the agency coach, and he'll be talking to a different awesome agency person in each episode, asking them 4 questions and seeing where the conversation takes us over the next 25 minutes. Okay, so let us begin. Over to you, Chris.
Thanks, voiceover guy. And on this podcast today, we've got Sadie Sherran, the co-founder of Falkon. How are you doing?
I'm very good. Thank you for having me. It's good to see you and hear you.
Yes, and both everyone who's listening to this can only hear us, but I can tell you, everyone who's listening, that Sadie has won the lottery in terms of headphones because she's got cat ears on her headphones. They're incredible. So Sadie, tell me all about Falkon. What is Falkon? What do you do best? What's your thing?
Well, Falkon started. It actually think about it. It's our birthday next week. In May. It started 14 years ago in May. So we've been going a long time. And it started off very much as a lifestyle business. I was working for a big agency in Liverpool, and my husband Luke was working for a large agency in Manchester. We were leaving the house at sort of 7:30 in the morning, getting back at 8:30 at night, and barely seeing each other. Our aim was to have children at some point, and we realized that life, if we wanted to have a career, we couldn't work for these big corporate agencies. As much as we loved working with big brands, that would never be sustainable. If we decided to have children, one of our careers would have to suffer, and either one of our careers would have to suffer, or it wouldn't be worth having children because we'd never see them. So 2008, 2009, we set up a business. Luke started it first, although it was a joint effort. Well, what happened was we went for cocktails, complaining about our commute, and we wrote a business plan down on a napkin. Buy one, get one free cocktails was the start of our business. Brilliant. And we had a bit of a business plan, sort of 3 months, then 6 months, and then sort of a year, and then hopefully we'd still be going after a year. But that's how it all started. And it was hard at first, very hard, as you know, starting your own business. But it really was the best thing we ever did.
And I know that you do a lot of video now. You do a lot of live action videos. You do a lot of animations. You like explainers and all sorts of interviews and product stuff. That wasn't where you started, though, was it? No. What was on the napkin?
Well, I have a technical SEO background, and my husband Luke, who will be doing a podcast probably in a couple of weeks.
I'm looking forward to the opposite perspectives.
Yeah, well, we decided not to do one together because as a married couple, we'd probably just talk over each other.
Yep.
But he comes from an e-learning background, okay. So very technical, and he was building WordPress websites, Magento websites for the business, and I was doing the technical SEO. So it was split very much one side and the other. We were newly married, very newly married. In fact, I gave my notice to the company just before we got married and came back off our honeymoon, and that was it.
Really went off the deep end, especially an agency as well, because you like life a little bit difficult, right?
Well, yeah, I think if you don't take that leap, you don't know what you can get. And we were both quite high up in the companies that we were at. So we sort of thought, well, if we don't do it now, when will we do it?
Yeah, absolutely. So over the last, say, 14 years, I know that Luke might have a different perspective on this, but what do you think your biggest success has been in the time that you've been running the agency?
Oh, it's been really difficult. Success-wise, it's hard to tell because everything's been up and down, and you can measure success in very different ways. I think when we were at our biggest and we had about 8 or 9 employees and we were working from an office, we felt very successful. But we started leaning in towards that company that we wanted to get away from. So we started doing much longer hours. The kids were in after school clubs instead of us doing the pickup and things like that. And it's very, very difficult managing those sort of people. And I mean, I personally, Luke is very good at managing people. I struggle with it somewhat. I think sometimes you have to realize your own limitations.
Yeah, you've got to remember, I know it sounds glib to say you started the business, with the plan on the back of a napkin, but the purpose of the business was to have a life balance, right? And kids are massively important, especially to you guys, because I've met your kids; they're pretty awesome. And I know, for example, they love all of their activities and that sort of stuff, and you want to be there to enjoy it, and that's part and parcel of it. If you have a business of 9 people and you've got to be there every day, and you've got all of the pictures and all of the team stuff, that isn't necessarily the success, is it?
Yeah.
It might be a couple of quid in the bank and some prestige and things, but realistically, success is measured by does it meet the purpose of the business? Is it meeting your strategic aims, your reasons for getting out of bed in the morning?
Yeah.
So I guess if you were to kind of, like you say, things went up and down, moved around. You had a lot of staff, you had a few staff, you had an office. You're now doing flexible working in terms of hybrid, or flexible in terms of everyone can work remotely?
Well, we did. When lockdown happened, everybody went home. We were like, right, take your stuff, let everybody go home. And we've always hired people based on their personalities more than their skill sets. Mm-hmm. So personality wise, we've always had people who, they're very enthusiastic, they're very hardworking, they're very trustworthy. They enjoy what they do a lot. So when they went off and they weren't in the office anymore, we still kept those lines of communication open, but it just felt so much better. They were a lot happier. They weren't doing the commute. They were able to do the things that we'd already been doing. They were able to pick their kids up from school, drop their kids off. We also expanded our business quite a bit. So when we first started our business, we wanted to help UK businesses because we started in the recession, the first one.
Yeah, of course.
And we wanted to help small businesses with big brand solutions, basically, because we knew that without the overheads, we could do what we did in big agencies for small companies. Excuse me. But now we've expanded quite a bit. So we've got a lot of international clients, and it's very hard to look after those clients when you've got someone in Australia and you've got somebody in California.
Yep.
you can't have your staff working, 5 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock at night to deal with these people. But we do also want to have that communication open. So quite a lot of our staff are now able to, because they're not in the office, they're not working set hours. They can have a call early in the morning, sort of 7 o'clock in the morning, and then they finish early. They finish at sort of 2 or something, or as long as the hour and the output is the same. Because we've got these trustworthy people, we've got hardworking people, we can see what they're doing, the output's there. There's no reason not to do it, and it serves our clients a lot better because we can have chats with Australia, we can have chats with America.
Yeah, it makes it a hell of a lot more flexible and also happier for everyone, I guess. So over that 14 years, with things changing relatively, I say not frequently, but over 14 years, a lot has happened. Yeah. What if you were to sort of create a time machine and go back? I know some of those cameras that you guys have got are quite technical. Maybe you could repurpose them. You go back in time 14 years and Luke's gone to the toilet at the cocktail bar and you sat there with your napkin with the business plan on it. What one piece of advice would you give younger version of Sadie?
I think to follow your passion a bit more. Mm-hmm. So I assumed that because my job was SEO, technical SEO, that's what I should carry on doing. And we do technical SEO. But I also felt, because it was just me at the time, that I had to expand out onto link building, which I'm not particularly good at.
Yeah, we both grimaced when you said that.
Yeah. And I also felt that, you know, that was my box, if you know what I mean. But over the years, the good thing about having a big team is it did allow us to sort of step back and look at our passions a bit more. So whilst when we first started, mine and Luke's departments, so to speak, were very different, it's now merged because we've got similar passions, we've got similar creative vision. We've also felt that as an agency, we had to be a jack of all trades. We had to offer a full service solution.
Yeah.
And we had to hire people or to be able to do this. But when we actually thought about what we enjoy doing and what we put our time and effort in, we can do this. We can do certain parts of the job, and we can do it adequately. We can do it competently. But we didn't necessarily enjoy doing it, and we weren't specialists at it. So once we sort of realized that if we followed what we're good at, what we love, and drive our passions that way, everybody else sort of came with us, because we're the heads of the company. Our passion drives all the rest of the staff. When they can see us having fun, they have fun. When they see us getting excited, it's contagious. And that's why we've kind of gone down the specialism of video SEO, video marketing. Luke has always been passionate about creating videos. He's always had done animations. I've been passionate about the marketing side of it and having the technical SEO, apply that to YouTube, which is owned by Google. It all made sense because we enjoyed doing it, and it was much more creative for me. And it was an area that we both could sort of push down, and the team love it. We still do a lot of technical. We don't build cheap websites at the moment anymore. We used to do these WordPress websites for small businesses, just to get them the online presence that we could then work on to improve that presence. Now we work very much on bespoke coding. It's much more technical, because that's our technical director's passion.
Yeah.
He doesn't like a high output of quick, nasty, cheap websites.
Yeah.
He wants to be proud of what he does. And because of that, we've now got majority of our website clients are retainer clients, where we're doing conversion rate optimization. We're doing, speed tests. And he just works on that bespoke coding to improve larger websites, stuff that's not your. Yeah, he really is. That's why we love him. He's great.
So if you were to have popped into existence, given yourself that piece of advice to follow your passion a bit more, do you think that the younger version of you, apart from being surprised to see an older version of you appear, do you think you'd have listened to that advice, or do you think it would have been, ignored or?
Oh, it's hard to tell, because when you're young, you're arrogant, aren't you?
I mean, I'm older and I'm arrogant still.
I think also with age comes a little bit of confidence in yourself. And there's always been a bit of, when we set up the business, we were scared, because it was a relatively low mortgage, but for both of us to be unemployed and putting everything into this business, it was very, very scary time. And I think, although I would have loved to have followed my passion, I don't think I would have taken that advice, because I would have done, I think what we probably would have carried on doing is what we felt was the norm, because it's tried and tested. We've seen it work. Although saying that, it didn't work then, it didn't really work. That's why we left those companies. Yeah. Because it didn't work.
And quite a lot of agency leaders, when they start their agencies off, they start them off from a perspective of, I don't like where I am and I don't like something about it, so I'm going to go do it all by myself. And then what happens is they go, oh, well, this seems to work this way. And then next thing you know, before you realize it, you're building something that you didn't like, and you think that it's great because you're running it instead.
But actually you've just turned into what you didn't like.
Exactly. So is there something that you guys have done kind of really well that, like, absolutely kind of hit the market perfectly. It was something that you've done that is perfectly Falkon, that you did it that one time. You went, wow, we're onto something. We're going to keep doing this.
I don't think there's just been one thing. There's been lots of little things that make sense. A lot of our video work is, again, I suppose it's where our passion, because we put our heart and soul and we have real fun with it.
You've done some great video, even for me as well. So I know firsthand that it's great.
But when we're given like sort of free creative freedom to do video, it's something that we're wanting to do a lot more of. Because we've got data to back up lots of things now. We're still improving. We're still trying to find. I mean, I don't think it'll ever stop. It's always we can find something better to do. We can have more fun. We can create something that people are going to love, and we're going to sort of get that right to replicate it. We do a lot because we do enjoy it. We did a lot of testing on our own stuff. I mean, Luke's got his own YouTube channel. In fact, that's one of the things we got all of our staff to do, is set up a YouTube channel. We got them all YouTube qualified, and they all got to experiment on whatever they wanted to do. We had one guy who was drumming. We had one guy with a cooking show.
Oh, really?
Our geeky technical director had a 3D printing. That's how geeky he is, a 3D printing YouTube, and it's quite successful.
It's niche, so
yes.
Yeah, quite right. So if there's someone who's listening right now and they've been kind of waiting to get to this last piece of the podcast where you're going to give them one piece of advice, they're just starting an agency, or they've just started, they're going to start, or they're thinking about starting an agency, assume they've asked for advice, what advice would you give them based on everything that you know now?
I suppose to be true to yourself, understand your limitations.
Yeah, big one.
And understand your passion and what makes you different. Because if you're starting an agency, you're the head of that agency, and everything else comes down from you. You sort of lead, and you need to be happy. If you're miserable, then no one else in the team is going to be happy, and it will affect everything from productivity to retention, recruitment, everything. So you have to make sure that you are being the best version of yourself, not just for your team, but for yourself. Yeah. And if at any point that you feel like your mental health is suffering, then there's something wrong and you need to deal with that fast.
Yeah.
I think it's really important. And when we started this business, obviously in the company that I used to work with, it was that culture of you have to work long hours or you're not doing a good enough job. There was, I don't know if you've worked in these companies, I think you have, where people look at you if you're the first to leave. You can't ever be the first to leave.
My nickname at the first agency I worked at was Minuteman, because I'd be out the door a minute past 5. But that was because I hated working there, and also I was there from way earlier and got all my work done. So, Yeah.
But I think a lot's happened in the past decade and a half that isn't what business is like anymore. So you don't have to be like that. It's not gonna make a productive team. It's not gonna make a productive you. And and again, everything comes from you. If you're happy, if you're productive, if you're showing a passion. I mean, you can't really start a business without having some sort of passion, whether it's passion for accounting or passion for the law or whatever. You have to have that, and that is your contribution to the business. Absolutely. Whether you're a partner or a sole company, then you have to stay true to yourself, really.
Absolutely. I mean that's fantastic advice. Stay true to yourself. If you've got an agency at the minute that you're running and you kind of feel a bit lost in that sense, go back to your version of the napkin moment and try and work out why you did it, why you started, and go back to that where you can. Yeah.
I mean, I know loads of people are doing this at the moment, the 4-day week, but I started it in January. And the reason I did it is because my weekends are filled with kids. And then kids stuff, taxi driver, cleaning up after them. So Monday, I was knackered.
Yeah.
So now I take Monday off and I actually do pole dancing, something that is completely switched off from anything else. I do circus tricks and pole dancing, and it's a kind of a reset button because I'm not thinking about work, but I'm still being creative and having fun.
Yeah.
I mean, for some people, it might be a spa day. For some people, they might paint. For some people, they may read a book. Some people may just spend all day watching Netflix. Everybody, whatever it is. But sometimes you just need a break because burnout is real, and I found that I'm much more productive having a proper break on a Monday and just doing those 4 days where I'm like, I'm ready for it. I'm not knackered from taxiing the kids around.
And I think the world at large, or the Western world at large anyway, are starting to pick up on that, and I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to the advice. I think you're right in that you should be true to yourself, and that itself closes the podcast. I mean, fantastic advice to end on for sure. So thanks very much for coming.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
And on our next podcast, we'll be talking to another agency leader to hear about everything that they've learned throughout their journey. So thanks very much for listening.